This is Scott from Scott Pulsing Trader, and this is the section on broken ice. Please take a second to read the disclaimer. All right, a broken ice setup is just a continuation of what we've been looking at, especially the Titanic setup. It's just the opposite of a Titanic setup. It's when the broken ice setup is a threshold iceberg event that ultimately fails with the market running away opposite of the iceberg. The methodology behind broken ice is that although icebergs are the big money that tend to control the market, there are times there is an opposing entity in the market that is bigger and is trading opposite of the iceberg, or the original ice area is just overwhelmed with market orders and has to eventually puke out a position just like a retail trader would, the iceberg I'm referring to there. So you can see here, so these are just volume events, iceberg volume events that are wrong, right? So, for my studies, again, I would say the Titanic setup is, icebergs work in the direction of the actual iceberg more times than not. I don't have an exact percentage on it. I would say at least 60% of the time, and it's just common sense. Again, these are the bigger entities. Many times, these guys will just keep putting in orders until whatever entity this is, until they end up being right? But there are times that they are wrong. So the common misconception from day one when this stuff came out, when I did my original course, the so-called competitors at Bookmap thought I was saying, every time you see sell ice, you need to sell, or if you see buy ice, you need to be a buyer, and that's just not the case. We have rules on how these areas should respect or trade around these events to figure out what type of event it is. Yes, more often than not, like I said, sell ice will hold and move lower, buy ice will hold and move higher, but there are times that the paper is wrong, just like anybody else. Like I used to be one of the biggest traders on the street for E-mini S&P futures, right? I could trade up to 3,000 contracts. I was wrong all the time, right? I was a big player. I was able to push the market around all day long, most days. There was times I got my head handed to me too, right? So it's the same concept. So the one thing that I will say about these broken ice setups is they tend to not retest the zone more often, where we look for the retest. Again, but as I talk about in other setups, the ATR, the retest, and the failure, and we came up with a new word today for it. I can't remember now, but the ATR retest move back away out of the zone, right? So these have a tendency to pretty much just keep going, as we'll see on a lot of these examples, and it makes sense, right? The big money takes a stand, and they're wrong, and they need to get out. Many times they won't come back. And once again, you never know what's going on with these icebergs and why they're initiating. Are they initiating a new order, a brand new position? Are they getting out? So is this an entity that's getting out of it short, or a long? That's turning around and selling it. Are they hedging options? It doesn't matter. You're never going to know. Stop wasting your time trying to know. Just know the area is important and the way the market respects that area, or responds to that area, I should say. So here's an example of bonds. This one did retest. I don't know the exact ATR, but bonds is usually a smaller ATR, so this didn't look like you had 1,000 sell ice come in, it did retest and then run away. That's the first example. And then the next example is an NQ. I don't have an exact quantity on this one. It looks like it was probably close to 300. So you see there's buy ice here. It did move a little higher and then ultimately failed. This one did not come back and retest. This just ran away, right? And another kind of warning sign, you'll see this in the sweeps section. You can see here somebody was buying it aggressively, sweeping the order book. Somebody came in and bought it. Someone tried to sell it. Someone bought it passively with their hidden orders, and then someone swept it again. So at this moment in time, I would be saying, yeah, this thing's going to rip. But, again, one, this is why I wait for an ATR, and this definitely was not an ATR away from the zone for me to even determine if I was going to get in aggressively or not, or wait for this, my conservative entry. This one immediately got below here. So, and you see some sell sweeps as well. So something was up here. This was warning that Somebody was aggressive buying it, somebody was passively buying it, and it barely moved any higher and got below. And as soon as it gets below, so this is an instance where you can just say broken ice. I'm in. Either we've talked about this in every one of these setups. Like my L course, I talk about getting in the minute it breaks below the zone and putting your stop just above. Again, you have more of a propensity to stop out on whipsaws around the zone, or waiting for the ATR to get in. First move out of the zone, ATR plus 10%. That's where you get in, and you place your stop in ATR above there. That's how I trade them. You can trade them any way you want. But in this instance, what I'm trying to say is, you had multiple signs that something was up here, and the minute this broke below here, you could either got in there or waited for the ATR. Either way, I probably wouldn't be waiting for an ATR retest in this situation, just by what happened up here. And then you see the sellers came in too. They were off sides at first, but the minute that got back below there, it was gone. These buyers are in trouble. That leads them to move down. Next example. This is gold. This is broken by ice. Somebody came in, bought quite a bit. Gold threshold's 150. This was close to 500. This one did retest fail, and like I talk about all the time, it depends on what area you're in, whether you want to wait, you're willing to wait for this. If it's just a mediocre area that you have no idea, like I'm not getting really much out of the swipes. There were buy swipes here, or sweeps, sell sweeps, buy sweeps. That's not telling me much. Say this was just like sitting right at VWAP or yellow lug, where there's just no real directional bias. That's where I would probably wait for one of these, right? I wouldn't just jump in aggressively. Even if you jumped in aggressively, though, you still, if you waited for the 110% on ATR that I talk about in the ATR videos, and then put your stop up here, you didn't. You got tortured a little bit, but the trade still was, working as of when I did the screenshot. So, if you love the area, I would not wait for the retest, like we talked about, then just jump in. And like I said, we'll see in these screenshots coming up, there's more of a propensity for this, not for broken ice areas, to not retest and then just go. Next example is, this is Russell, RTY. So this one, I don't know exactly what the ATR was here or not. This may have been ATR retest. Either way, buy ice stepped up. You can see the big selling, ran into the buy ice there. It did move a little higher and then ultimately failed. So you can either get in aggressively first move or wait for the ATR retest. This one was a nice trade lower. And then the next one, this is broken ice in wheat. So this one did not retest. This is, I don't have the quantity here. This looks like this was close to 200, this first blip, and then another. So this looks like it was close to 400 sell ice, which is quite a bit for wheat. Wheat threshold's 150. Buyers got aggressive. They ran into the sell ice, and then it ran away and never retested and kept going. So this one, if you were waiting for the retest, you would have been out of luck. So once again, it depends on the area. You may want to say, I'm in the minute this breaks out of here. You could even do, like we talk about, I keep talking about these different types of entries. You can get in right when it breaks above there, risk right below the zone if you don't like to risk the ATRs. Again, you open yourself up for more one of those, but this one worked fine. You ran out of the blue bubble, put your stop right below, and you catch a 12-cent move, right? That's a nice move for grains, for wheat. This is a crude broken ice. See, 437 sell ice came in here, and you can see there were these blue bubbles. Somebody swiped it the first time, then it kind of held there, then it came back, and someone was buying it again. And this is a good example of this is just basically market buyers overwhelming this area, right? So you had somebody sweeping it. This is probably a bigger entity, obviously. 745 sweeps. Kind of stayed in there. Then as the market buyers came in, there were a little more sweeps here, and the market buyers came in. That's what triggered the sell ice, and it was just off and away, right? So this is another example where you can help use the sweeps. I talk about that in another section, to be like, okay, they're sweeping, market orders, the sell ice, it doesn't look like it's going to hold. As soon as it breaks above here, you can either get in there, risk right below the zone, or do the ATR, and this never retested. So if you're waiting for a retest in this instance, this puppy's gone, right? So this is a dollar move, pretty much straight. You had a little bit of a pullback here, but so you can use this stuff to help you determine if you want to get in aggressively or wait. You know, if you're not using an area, a specific area that you are deeming important, where you don't want to wait for the retest, you can use stuff like this, these sweeps. Especially, so you saw this, and then you see the sellers tried to get aggressive here and really couldn't do much with it. And when it got above there, then it was gone. So you can use these again, the sweeps, to help you determine if you're going to be aggressive with these zones or not, as well, on top of your areas that you think are important. So this is bonds again. This one did a retest failure. You can see over 4,000, 4,100 buy ice, offsides immediately, did the retest, did the fail, so you can get in waiting for that if it was a conservative entry, or you could have been right when it broke the zone, put your stop right above. Either way, you were not stopped out on this trade and caught this is a very nice winner. A point move in bonds is a large move straight down. And remember, this is the fuel, so you've got a view like these traders, whoever this entity is getting in, and they're immediately off sides. And what are you thinking? If you're this big player, get me out when it comes back, and then they got to get out. That's how you have to view it. The simpler you can view this stuff, the better you're going to do. This is soybeans. Another example of using, so this one didn't retest either, right? So like I said in the beginning of this video, this one had the broken ice has more of a propensity not to retest the zone, right? So this one you could have determined when you saw these buy swipes coming in, and then you can't really see the bubbles here, but the bubbles triggered this market buy bubbles triggered this 814, which is a lot. This is, you know, 6-7 times normal, about 6 times normal.